So I think this is an important one for us to watch. It is a video called Black Ops 6 Free the Developers Now. And from what I'm understanding, I haven't seen the video yet. I briefly looked at the comments, and from what I'm seeing, this is about the campaign, what the Call of Duty developers are doing, and how Warzone is affecting the game as a whole. And with it having to do with the story, the campaign, the overall narrative of the game, I felt like this was a good one for us to watch. I've never watched a Bricky video. He's got 1.06 million subs, so he's got to be good. So let's see. It's a long one, so strap in, grab a snack. Let's do this.
In the grand world of Call of Duty, it turns out that the CIA has sometimes made some very interesting decisions, but I bet they would have been a lot more kind if they just had amazing meal preps brought to you by Factor. Factor is today's sponsor, and their variety is unmatched.
That was the greatest segue ever.
Fantastic and delicious meal options for all kinds of people. Whether you work from home,
I've had Factor before.
Quick for the
they are
office,
indeed good, and they are indeed healthy.
Protein option, you want to watch your calories,
I did the keto ones.
Particular dietary restrictions, it is all available over at Factor. What's even better is that it is so easy to heat up. You get the meal, you put it in the microwave, and then bada bing bada boom, 2 to 3 minutes later it's ready to be eaten, and it tastes fantastic. I have had it multiple times on stream.
I haven't had the drinks
recently, and it is just a great way for me to get what I need in, and I don't forget to eat because I've been streaming for a very long time. It's very handy for any kind of at-home work. So go ahead and head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50Bricky for 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50Bricky at Factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video, Factor, and let's continue with the video.
Great segue.
It is that time once
he's
again.
A green screen
another
guy.
Year, another Call of Duty. And let me tell you, I have been excited, as excited as I can be regarding this one. I'm aware that Call of Duty is a greedy shell of what it was, but that is where I enjoy making videos about it. Because if the game sucks, it's fun to talk about. And if the game is great, then I get to play a great game. There's no situation where I lose here.
I felt like Modern Warfare 3 was just a lose all around.
So fall has returned, and a new entry has graced us.
I keep having to
Call
move.
of Duty Black Ops 6. This is the third year in a row I have done consecutive campaign reviews for the Call of Duty games. I did talk a little bit Modern Warfare 2019 way back when,
stop switching
mainly
sides
only
here.
Focused on how piss poor the zombies was in Vanguard. But we went pretty in depth starting in MW2 2022 with a saying that has remained so excessively valid over the years. No body, no kill. Modern Warfare 3 2023
So that was one of my biggest things. By the way, this I started in Black Ops 3. I think my saying was, if you didn't see someone die, they're probably not dead. No body, no kill has like a better ring to it, I will say.
Came out, and I deemed it the worst Call of Duty campaign ever made. And
it might be.
I do not use that as a hyperbole. It was 3 hours long with an hour and 45 minutes of actual gameplay time, including a nonsensical story, rehashed Warzone areas as gameplay segments, and of course, V for Makarov. However, as we're making our way to Black Ops 6, we had a couple of things going for us. The Black Ops games have varied in their quality, but one thing has always been true, and that's with the exception of the fourth game, which
and stop and move in my face.
All of those genuinely tried something different. In the long stretch of dark and gray cubicles that is the Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, I didn't realize when we were getting into this that this was actually like a full campaign review, so this is even better, but I want to be clear. I want to hear what he has to say about this, because I've built a particular opinion about this campaign at this point, where it falls in line with other Call of Duty campaigns, and I'm curious what someone kind of on the outside has to say.
Microsoft workspace, little bits of brightness shine through, and no matter how hard the publisher tries to stuff it back in, creativity always seems to leak out. Even campaigns that are not considered to be particularly good, like Black Ops 3, still tried something weird, still tried to mess with the formula, and even if it doesn't tend to land, it's something I do respect. Combine this with the fact that Black Ops 6 had a much longer 4-year development time and was followed by the surprisingly...
Just to be clear, it's, I think, tied for the longest Call of Duty campaign ever with Infinite Warfare, I believe.
Decent Cold War game. There was a little bit of hope that we may not get another horribly rehashed cash grab, but instead get an over-monetized, overstuffed 500GB cash grab with a chunk of creativity beneath all that rubble. But unfortunately, I do not have a review on Cold War, the prequel to this game, so I decided to replay it before starting up the Black Ops 6
I'm glad you
campaign,
did.
and I think it's pretty important to discuss before we get too deep into the weeds. So let's talk a little bit about that game, a little review and a review of that
It's
title before we
reviewception.
get into the thick of it. It'll be a good time, don't worry, you know? We got a job to do. Cold War came out a bit before I started doing these types of videos, so I never had a chance to properly review it, and it's a shame because I put it roughly on par with Modern Warfare 2 2022 in the pretty decent but not blowing me away category. What I found the most interesting about this game was that even though it is relatively short, taking only 5 to 6 hours to beat
it is a pretty short
does
game.
an admirable job of fleshing out its characters. In particular, it introduces a
Adler.
system that allows you to, in between missions, speak and ask questions
It's good that he's bringing this up in this way because this becomes a much larger part of
all
Black
the
Ops 6.
individual squad mates that you'll be going around with. This does genuinely let you get to know them a bit better and ask them questions not just related to the mission at hand, but what it also does is allows you to listen to various conversations that they have between each other.
By the way,
those can
there are so many conversations in Black Ops 6 that I think get passed by. Like,
be
so many within the
genuinely pretty
safe house.
captivating. There's one in particular that is just too long to play in its entirety, but it's how the MI6 agent Park received the scar on her neck. It's bizarre to watch because it's genuinely some of the best acting I've seen in a large amount of Call of Duty games. Everything from the voice acting to the little micro expressions is just so above average for the COD series. Hilariously, where I think Cold War suffered a bit was actually its gameplay. I feel like the wrong lesson was taken from MW 2019, where that game had a ton of gameplay and it really calmed down on the big over-the-top Call of Duty spectacle sections. The tone matched it a lot closer, and we were seeing
I don't know if I agree with
this
this.
completely new realistic engine to go along with it. Cold War is about your character being brainwashed from the CIA through MK Ultra to stop a defected Russian commander from detonating nukes in Europe planted by the United States as a safety net against Russia in the Cold War. And when you see how insane it gets on the second half of the game, you kind of want all those crazy first-person shenanigans
I
again.
forgot that there were zombies in that campaign too.
But for me,
Barely,
Cold War
but there
as a
was.
game had mostly mediocre gameplay with a couple really standout missions, the penultimate especially, and some surprisingly above average characterization. Even though he didn't do much, Russell Adler cemented himself as one of the Call of Duty greats. Just the general
Yeah, that I think is the most shocking part about Black Ops Cold War is how entrenched Adler
level of
became.
charisma and presence he puts off everywhere he goes.
I agree with
Plus,
this.
the dude is dripped out of his mind. I challenge all of you to look at Russell Adler and not say to yourself, I wonder if I could pull off those shades in that outfit. If I ever get invited to one of those Call of Duty early access events, somehow, after everything I've said against their game, catch my ass stealing his fit. But yes,
That would be
Cold War
hilarious.
isn't one of the
I would
best
like to see
CODs,
that.
But in this day and age, getting that Black Ops weirdness along with the genuinely stellar art direction, I mean, look at the box art. You know, that was a bit of creativity that, while still a bit crunched under Activision, I did appreciate. So we're here, Black Ops 6, and this is
That box art, I need to make a video on that box art alone. Because that box, I think I've talked about it in a video, but that box art has so much more
apparently
hidden in it
still
than
a
you
sequel
think.
to Cold War. It takes place after the flashbacks from Black Ops 2 way back in 2012. You know, Hudson and Mason are dead, Woods has now been crippled, and the CIA is up to the usual CIA shit. But of course, this era of COD is different. This is the era of using the same engine every time with small alterations to the UI, normally not good ones, and an emphasis on turning everything they can into Warzone. So,
Yes.
did they cook? They cooked a little. It's not 5-star, but I mean, like, that Felix is a hell of a chef.
That I could hunt and forage from the surrounding area.
He just shoved in half a potato and half of a tomato, not
chopped. What is wrong with him? A while ago, I saw a tweet or post or something that was basically the Donnie Darko meme asking if the video essay is actually an essay or if it's just talking about the game in chronological order. I have never experienced a post in which I had felt so called out for it, because despite doing a mix of both, I've always enjoyed the chronological order part.
I do those a lot, so I get what he's saying.
Point out a lot of the specific things that I enjoy as well as the things that I don't by picking parts of the game that fit those points as best as I go through.
Also, I feel as though most people writing essays are normally, like, if you write one about a book, most people do it in chronological order. I think the better ones don't.
Unfortunately, it becomes a lot more difficult to do that when the game takes the phrase pacing and throws it out the window. Way back when, it was all about the very linear maps and missions with a bunch of cool set pieces taken from place to place. And that was what Call of Duty was for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that got boring.
They went a little bit harder into new things,
Maybe I'm
like
wrong.
new enemies and such. But for here and in the beginning, Black Ops 6 just doesn't put its best foot forward. The cutscenes come out at a breakneck pace, not really explaining very well what is going on, and giving you a nebulous villain name before sending you on your way. It's very impressive and dumbfounding how a game can both not tell you enough and also have way too much exposition at the same time, but they pull it off. The premise is extremely bare bones. In Cold War, you were after the nebulous character known as Perseus. They were the
It is a little bit too familiar to
big bad Russian villain looking to destabilize the world during the Cold War, which, as we all know, was about as stable as a Guilty Gear Strive player's search history.
Positive bonus.
Now, the main story was generally not very good nor intriguing, and that is also the case here. Instead of a particular group or nation being the main villain, it
is super interesting. Whenever I look at these reviews, people loved Modern Warfare 2019. Like, the general public, like people who are not in Call of Duty, like the community, loved that campaign. And like, I think it's a great campaign. Like, I think it's like an 8 out of 10 campaign. But to me, the gameplay in that was 100 times more boring than in a game like Black Ops 6. And maybe I'm in the minority.
Fight a, quote, multinational shadow organization, unquote, known as the Pantheon, and are not really told much outside that other than, you know, maybe there's something going on with the CIA because they're acting a little sus, might have vented, you know, Zoomer humor. It's just the CIA have been known in these games to not be the greatest narrators. So basically, Adler, in the first mission, kills a very important rogue agent. The director of the CIA,
not a rogue agent, but
Livingston, is really pissed off and tells you to take a hike, ignoring the Pantheon threat. So naturally, as people who are very versed in off-the-record operations, you go find a safe house in Bulgaria and you go deal with a lot of off-the-record stuff because that's just what you do. Now, I'm going to have to say a lot of things about this game, and it'll probably range towards the negative, especially as we reach the end, but I do want to open with saying that I am so happy they brought back the safe house conversation system that
yeah. So he's going to get negative about it, and I'm curious what he has to say about it.
Useful, and it's mostly optional. Going around the safe house and talking to all the people really gives you those extra character bits that make the game far more interesting and flesh out your group. But if you wanted to just run past them to the evidence board and go back to the shooty bang bang, you could just ignore all of it, and that's cool. The character list here goes Marshall Woods, Sev, Adler, Felix, my beloved, and your own playable character known as Case. It should also mean a lot that I
don't know why people like Felix so much.
Was able to remember all those characters off the top of my head without looking them up, because unlike in a lot of other Call of Duty games, they actually develop these characters. See, I was very
That is a really good point, actually. Like, in this game, like, I know all the characters, like, without thinking about it. Whereas, like, if I think back to, like, Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3, the original one, okay, we had Sandman, right? Who else? Frost was with him, and, like, what were their backs? Like, you just
use where we were.
They didn't develop them,
so. But now we've figured it out, and I guess they rebooted the new Modern Warfare games and put them in the same timeline as the original Black Ops games. So Cold War took place after Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 6 takes place after the flashbacks of Black Ops 2.
Correct.
Which is a shocking amount of faith to have for your fans, because most people probably are going to be quite confused why Woods is in a wheelchair. I don't know why Woods is in a wheelchair. They mention Raul Menendez often, and unless you played Black Ops 2 that, you know, came out
but I think that is okay. I think it's okay to make a standalone story that you can add to with
12
past
years
context.
ago, you're gonna have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Raul Menendez.
You won't know how he got crippled by being shot in both legs. You won't know that Mason and Hudson are dead in this timeline. They were major characters in Cold War, and unless you know the deep lore of a game over a decade old, they're just absent. Which is kind of funny, because normally I get annoyed when media reminds the viewer about things that happened recently, because normally they have no faith in the viewer remembering it. But that's normally like a prequel or maybe an earlier.
You know what? I actually really disagree with this, because they actually explain several times in the thing that he just said he loved, which is the safe house conversations. They explain it several times that Mason's dead and what happened and how Menendez did that. They actually explain that through those conversations, which they're not hammering you over the head with it because it's in those side conversations.
Episode of a TV show.
So
this game
actually
came out
disagree with what he's saying
ago.
here.
I can't tell if they had a lot of faith or just didn't care. But for the most part, you take these characters and make your way through all of the different missions, and the missions here are mostly genuinely good. They're not all bangers. In fact, the next mission, Blood Feud, is mostly fine and nothing much past that. But from there, you get some pretty unique concepts. One of the interesting things to see when you play Call of Duty over the years is how they do their mission structure. Way back when, it was very linear maps and missions with a bunch of set pieces that were taking you from place to place. And that was what Call of Duty was for a long time. In fact, way back when, I always remembered memes showing like a Battlefield campaign map and a COD campaign map. And the COD one was a tiny narrow hallway, and then it said cutscene, narrow hallway, cutscene, narrow hallway, cutscene. The Battlefield one was all a bit larger, because this is back during the Battlefield, Modern Warfare, Bloods versus Crips, what side are you on kind of shit. Hilarious that I actually feel like I want that back. I want a carefully crafted campaign experience back instead of quasi-open world stuff. But then as time went on...
So yes, I do agree with that. The open world missions, I think, have proven time and time again to just not work in Call of Duty. Like, it was interesting to show like the kind of Ghost Recon mission in Black Ops 6, but I just, like, at the end of the day, I think it was probably the worst mission in the campaign.
They added new kinds of enemies, upgrade systems, and etc. to make it more interesting. The gameplay began to get a lot more in-depth. That's like the main focal point around the Modern Warfare 2019 era. There were a lot fewer of those big bombastic first-person segments and much more about longer missions with more moving parts in a methodical manner.
I do agree with that. Although there were some short ones too.
Moving parts, it can just get kind of lazy. Modern Warfare 2 and 3 showed us that it can just be a million dudes in armor, and they try to make dynamic levels out of Warzone maps. But here, it feels like they actually make real systems that are interesting to engage with.
So in my review of this, I specifically said that each mission almost felt as though it was a new game. And I stand by that.
Mostly. One mission was called Most Wanted, and this has you go to a special event for Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton, in which you need to gain access to a safe by using the senator's eye scan, and you can do this in multiple ways. One has you discovering an affair between the senator and one of his aides, and using his wife against that. The other is hacking a secret auction computer, and the third has you beating the shit out of him. These aren't three objectives you do individually, these are actual choices, and you get to pick how you want to go about it. Normally, these parts of the game are just window.
I don't know if he's going to say this, but one downside to this is they never, it didn't change the outcome of the game depending on which way you played it whatsoever.
When everything goes to shit, but it's actually quite fun to go around and have the choice to pick a direction to go. I chose to blackmail him about fucking his aide over to his wife, which involved me finding the aide and her friend trying to extort him, getting a sex tape from their car, putting him in the car, giving it to his wife, and her drugging the aide and carrying her out. It's
and taking care of her.
Hilarious and wild in such a lovely concept. Everything past that is the usual COD fanfare. You do a little bit of sneaking, you rescue Adler from the site, and then you ride on American flag motorcycles out in a blaze of glory.
It is hilarious that they're American flag
hilariously enjoyable mission
motorcycles.
between its branching paths, decent combat, and then great spectacle moment at the end. And it is only the third best mission mission of the game.
Ooh,
After you
what's he
complete
gonna put
this,
above
you make
it?
your way back to the safe
Ooh.
house, and I have to shout out the
Casino
acting in
heist?
this game. For the
An
most
emergence?
part, even in the bad ones, Call of Duty has been generally well acted, almost never anything Game of the Year winning, but
They've
for
done
how
really well
mediocre
with
these
voice
titles
acting
can end
lately.
up being, the character voice acting is, you know, actually pretty decent. But I think we're upping it a bit since Cold War and Black Ops 6. The discussions
since
in
Modern
the
Warfare
safe house,
2019,
not the ones that you do with the individual people, but rather the ones that are in between two characters, are always so engrossing and genuinely make you develop intrigue in the characters, and yeah, hope they don't die. I was a big fan of Adler in Cold War, and I do think he stole the show a bit, but out of all the other characters, Park was my favorite because her demeanor was enjoyable, and
you're
every
a
time
simp.
she acted out a scene, all of the little micro emotions and conversational ticks were
She is a good
impressive.
character in that
Like,
game, I will say
This is
that.
real acting for real characters in Call of Duty, damn it. And nowhere is that more on display than with the man himself, Felix, my beloved.
And ears. No, or pornography. Might need a test subject. I'm ignoring you. Perhaps a reevaluation of my priorities is in order.
I tell you, this
One thing a lot of people missed is I don't think Felix liked Case. And I think there's like a whole deeper story with that. I haven't covered it in a
beautiful
video
German
yet.
engineer man is such a delight. He kills every scene he's in with all of the hilarious German conversational skills and dry humor, while simultaneously having a fascinating character trait of being ex-Stasi and putting down the firearm to become a pacifist. He still
And then
works
he's
against
not
the
at the
enemy,
end.
of course, but he will not kill someone.
Until
this
the end.
all makes for such an awesome person to have in your earbud and on your team. In fact, I feel like he overshadows the other characters a bit. Adler is still here, but not for very long, which is unfortunate.
He's kind of a
'cause
weak
he is,
character in
once
it,
again,
honestly.
kind of a Chad. Sev and Marshall are pretty decent, but they don't get quite as much development as I would have liked. There aren't a lot of character traits.
Marshall needed way more character development. I agree with what he's
that
saying.
go
Sev, I
past
think, got enough.
Boy Scout, CIA, and double agent spy.
a
Honestly,
lot
some of the
for
best
Sev.
stuff character-wise comes from Woods adapting to his new condition of being a Black Ops badass to now being wheelchair-bound.
There is like a this scene.
Fuck me.
This scene's
It's
like
actually
dark.
kind of sad because
Yeah.
outside of the clip I just showed you, they don't really expand on it too much.
Yeah.
It's normally him blowing it off and trying to talk about something else, which is fine, but I wanted to get to the deeper core of Woods a bit more. But I know I said this 9 times now, but these moments here do so much for the campaign, just like it did.
I
with the prior
totally
one.
agree with them
Having
here.
these moments elevate what you're doing. Man, it's almost like having genuine characters elevates every game that has ever existed. Incredible. Unfortunately, with all the good I've just said, we do need to have a little bit of the bad. And the next 2 main missions I consider to be pretty mediocre while still having a bit of a neat concept. So the next mission is actually a gigantic open world style one where they
Yeah,
give you a car that
I'm
lets
gonna
you go
agree with them
around to
on this
various
too.
areas dealing with scud launchers, among other objectives. Now, the concept here is cool. The more of the side objectives you do,
is.
the more upgrades and things
just
you
doesn't
get
work in
for
Call of
that
Duty. I
mission.
agree.
And those upgrades will let you clear out the other areas better and better. For example, I got a stealth bomber for helping out soldiers at a crashed helicopter site, but you can also get a chopper gunner if you destroy all 3 SAM sites, or a mortar strike if you pick a cache at the first enemy encampment you clear. What's really neat about this is that in the following mission called the Cradle, you get to keep all of these kill streaks for the big
cool
assault
idea.
on the enemy base, and that there is a very neat concept. Doing all the things and the side missions in the big open world helps you in the next mission. And on paper, it would have been really fun if it didn't involve you driving through a gigantic dead-ass desert with no music, no
Yeah.
intrigue, and the same kind of objective over and over again. I did one side mission, the one where you rescue the soldiers from the helicopter, and said, nah, I'm not going to finish the rest of these. I'm just going to go do the main objective because it was putting me to sleep. I'm
Yeah, I
sure
agree with that.
in some universe, COD can do this open world thing. I mean, Far Cry has gone away with it for quite a while. But for me, Call of Duty is not a checklist of going around and doing the cool icon on your map. It is a crafted linear segment along with awesome set piece moments and other various ways to break up gameplay. It is not driving to a bunch of checkmark
I do think there is a world where they can do it correctly. I just don't think they're anywhere near
areas
that
shooting people
world.
and doing it over again. I very much dislike this mission, and the following mission is not particularly amazing either. It's just a relatively generic storm the base mission and get out. So, C minus. But
Yeah.
But this has all just been me running through the opening of this game, because those of you who have played it know we're not actually talking about this COD until we get to the next mission. Even the good ones so far pale in comparison.
Wait. So this is the question I have for everyone. If you are watching this, especially if you are someone that hasn't played every Call of Duty game, like, I want the opinions of people who don't play the multiplayer, of who don't play the zombies, and who just played the campaign. I want to know what they think of this mission. And probably if you're watching this video, you're not one of those people. But I'm curious, because let's see what he says.
Odds have paled in comparison. After the worst campaign we have ever seen, preceded by a somewhat okay but not quite there campaign before it, we get what is arguably the best Call of Duty mission in the last 8 years. And the only one that comes close is Clean House. And that one, as fun as it is nowhere near as dynamic as this one.
Emergence is actually the best Call of Duty mission in maybe a decade. Not
maybe
everyone
ever.
loves this mission, as anytime zombies are anywhere near the main campaign, a lot of people get thrown off by it. But I like the weird creativity. I like when Raven and Treyarch mess with your brain, and here you head to Kentucky to check out an off-the-map research lab.
So I wonder if he's going to say the other good mission is the casino heist, or I wonder if he's going to say the other good mission is the split identity or whatever, the Jane Harrow mission.
Your mask falls off, you take a big whiff, next thing you know, you're in this gorgeous Art Deco government facility with zombies, weeping angel mannequins, mimics from Prey, and a motherfucking grappling hook. It is cinema.
Like, imagine telling someone that's Call of Duty. I agree with everything he's saying here.
Free my boys. Raven Software and Treyarch. Free my damn boys.
It's mainly Raven that worked on that campaign, by the way.
And time again, they have shown that even with the gray matter by Oingo Boingo, that is Activision Blizzard, their creativity can still poke a hole and leak out. Real creative intrigue with the MK Ultra mindfuckery, the voice in your head, the creepy experiments, and the utilization of actually great level design. Is it maybe a little pandery, where this mission is basically all the hot buzzword concepts? You know, zombies, weeping angels, mimics, etc. Yeah, a bit. I don't normally love fan service, but fan service can be done right.
I don't even know if you consider this fan service.
2017 meets Trepang 2 shit is awesome. It's one of those moments where you wish they could just expand upon this single thing into an entire video game.
That's what I said about a lot of it.
The art direction of this level is fascinating. The weird voice in your head telling you about all the horrible things that's being done to you.
There's like 4 missions in this game where I'm like, they could have made a horror game. They could have made a BioShock game. They could have made a Hitman game.
You know, Case 1, and the surprising amount of level variety in the singular level is just, it's chef's kiss, man. It's a genuine shame that this is the highest point of Black Ops 6, because it sets up so many incredible things for the rest of the game, and it's not going up from here. This whole mission is so incredible. All of the individual aspects, all the places that you go, the enemies that you fight, the environment, the weird, you know, mental messing fuckery shit going on. It's so good. There's even a crazy boss battle warlock dude. It's so much
disciple,
fun,
my friend.
and just nothing lives up to this. Well, okay, maybe that's a little bit too harsh. The next mission is the second best mission in the game. It's called High Rollers. It's a casino heist, and it has you moving between.
Wonder what he's gonna say about the split identity mission.
It's pure Ocean's 11 in the best type of way. Multiple types of objectives, various gameplay styles, a great bit of zest and flair.
I feel like there's not much you can say about this one, though.
The characters that we've developed this entire game so far all get to work together as one, and that is so much more appreciated when they've had the time to be fleshed out, which they have. The one weird thing is that, well, since you play as all of them, you inevitably play as Felix, right? And Felix is a pacifist. He just has like a bit of a weird way of showing it.
There you go. I knew you still had it in you.
See?
Pacifist my ass!
I know you still had it in you.
This is
That's
so
what it says.
absolutely out of left field. At first, I assumed it was a bug because I picked up a special finisher item earlier in the game, but apparently you just kill them regardless. I then assumed this might be something they had to deal with because of some game-breaking issue or animation, but
I wonder though, because I'm pretty sure you can go through that whole mission without killing anyone as him. I wonder if there's like a
Then
sort of
he just, you know, the rest of the mission is quite good, but what the hell happened to my boy Felix? Him being a pacifist is a really neat character dilemma that could have had a lot of time to be explored, but he just breaks it immediately when you get control over him. It's a situation where I kind of wonder if I set myself up for failure in expecting more than I should have. Should
Probably.
I be expecting good characterization in this game? I mean, probably not, but you had this like ex-Stasi German pacifist equipped with all of his hilarious personality quirks at your disposal and the slow descent into him losing the moral high ground of being that pacifist is something that you could have, like, you know, done something with, but they don't. He does reflect on it a bit at the hobo trash barrel you create afterwards, but that's the extent of it all. And it makes me really sad to see Felix, my beloved,
there is more
done like
lines
this.
in the game
next
that
two
relate
missions
to that,
are
especially at the very
generally
last
pretty
mission.
fine. They are your typical fanfare of Call of Duty murder, and it's a time where the gameplay
This is
does
one of the
take
worst
a bit
missions.
of a shine. You get to regroup with Sims from Cold War and go into your airport terminal for a little bit of bloody good time. It's bombastic and stupid.
I mean, but
in
if
a
you like
fun way,
traditional
and
Call of
it's
Duty
drive a
games, this
tank.
is the most
Isn't that
traditional
just
Call of Duty
grand?
mission.
Also, it's nice because in this game, it isn't just dudes with armor. It's a lot of dudes with armor, don't get me wrong, but there's actually different kinds of enemies.
Yeah,
you have like the Juggernaut style enemies, but you also have gas bomb throwing guys, and you also have dudes with an unlimited backpack of RCXDs they send
Very
out
annoying.
towards you. There's actual enemy variety. It's not a ton of it, but it's better than the other Modern Warfare games, so that's cool. Now, the mission after this is another concept that works very well on paper, like the open world mission, but is executed in a much better way. You return to Vorkuta,
like-
which I'm a little sad.
So it's a better mission than the other one, than the open world mission. I still don't think that mission's perfect because I think it's a little bit too easy just to put a C4 on
There's
everything.
no Reznov scenes, but you know, you can see like the destruction their escape made in their wake. But for the most part, this is just a stealth mission with Sev. The twist is that each objective can be handled in a more spy-like method. It isn't hard at all. It's context clues and simple questions, but it's still a type of gameplay style that's different in a very good way. What's more fun is that you have a good deal of side objectives you can do, like planting C4 on vehicles that when you are done and the cavalry comes in, you can utilize to give you a fighting edge in the ensuing combat. The reason why this one works and an open world one doesn't is because these have different
it's
types
not
of
open
ways to
world.
break up the gameplay. These are a lot closer to each other and don't spend a lot of time driving around, and in general, there's more variety. Plus, it just takes way less time. It's not perfect, but as a concept, I like it as a one-off. And the rest
Yeah,
of
I
the
agree.
mission has you
Like,
capturing
this is what I keep saying. I like that the different missions feel like different games.
Jane Harrow, CIA handler, because
Bad
guess what?
guy, I think is
She's
what-
actually behind Pantheon the whole time, and she's been tricking you, and now you're here to find out why, and now it's time for the ensuing Bricky rant. So, Jane Harrow. Jane Harrow. Jane Doe. Harrow from Warframe. Would you like to know how many times Jane Harrow has shown up in this game? Off the top of my head, I remember
Four.
twice. Editor, please show the amount of time and appearances and screen time that Jane Harrow has had during this title.
Not if it's a smuggler.
Oh, okay. They're gonna go through each one.
Yes, sir, but the accelerated timetable. We're open targets down here. I can cover your asses on my end best.
So
I
not a
can.
little
I was
amount.
just on my way out. They are pinning the attack on you, all of you. Wonderful.
We've done what we came here to do.
I respect you, Case.
She is the one behind this whole thing, behind the weird bioweapon shenanigans. known as
Honestly,
the-
wait. Honestly, as far as bad guys goes, that might be the most amount of time a bad guy's been on screen for a Call of Duty game before. Like honestly, like actually think about it. You have Makarov. I guess Makarov in Modern Warfare 2, you play as like one of his guys, so that mission game might be a little bit longer. But like every other Call of Duty campaign, they snap by them in cutscenes, and that's about it. That's actually pretty
behind
long, I
all of
think.
it. So you kidnap her, bring her to your safe house, and you interrogate her.
This prompts an absolutely batshit sequence where Adler injects her with a truth serum of sorts, and you end up playing as Harrow in a weirdo nightmare realm of her own thoughts and memories. This is often the situations that people come to Black Ops games for the most. The weirdness, the mindfuckery, the pure unadulterated mind control gameplay that we all know and love. And this mission goes on for a long time.
It's like a half-hour
with
mission.
Multiple objectives in piecing back the memory of Harrow and what her plans are. The big reveal is that as a child, Harrow's parents were killed by what was assumed to be a CIA operative, most likely Adler. So she joined Pantheon and wanted to use a false flag operation. Yes! Another one to detonate the cradle in the Capitol building. Discredit Livingston, the dude from the beginning, and replace him with herself, giving Pantheon control of the CIA. That is why you are going through this insane nightmare dimension to find it out. The whole time, evil, normal Harrow, the one who represents her sober mind, has entered her hardcore goth phase and is trying to stop you along the way. This whole thing takes place and is interspersed with Pantheon finding the safe house and raiding you. So Woods handles the interrogation and the rest of the team handles dealing with Pantheon. And it's just, you know.
I think the mission would have been better without dealing with Pantheon attacking. If it would have been one straight go through, and I think I know why they didn't, is because that mission didn't feel like Call of Duty. So they're like, let's throw some Call of Duty into this mission. But I think it hits less hard because of that.
You know the term snowballing, you know? No, not the one from Clerks. You know, as the game continues, you push a snowball, it gets bigger and bigger, you know, just the usual more and more snow. And then you get to the big climactic ending. Except in this case, instead of a snowball becoming huge and grandiose, it was rolled off a fucking cliff into the ocean, because the entire ending scene drops the ball so goddamn hard.
What makes those weird mental missions in COD interesting is because it is a play on preconceived notions given to us, the player, by them,
Yes.
the narrative. So far, out of all the
Yes. What he's saying there is like 100%. They show you one thing, which they kind of do when you find out the bad guy's Harrow, but I think I get where he's going
the
here.
other 5, except for 4, because Lamau, they all do something incredibly weird. Out of the prior Black Ops games, each time they do something weird, its point is to challenge what we knew before. The entire
What was Black Ops 2? Just that we killed Mason?
plot of Black Ops 1 takes place in an interrogation chair. It's the CIA interrogating you, but you don't know that. You barely know who you are or what's going on, but clearly something is very wrong, and slowly realizing what it was what made it so effective. The reveal that Viktor Reznov was never there at all throughout the entire
awesome.
game, and you
That's
were
why it's the
instead
greatest Call of Duty
brainwashed
campaign
to
of all
kill
time.
the men he hates in his stead, recontextualizes the entire game and what you've been doing, as well as who has been interrogating you. Black Ops 2 is more straightforward, and Black Ops 3 is just insane, but Cold War did the same type of thing. When you start the
I have a video on my channel that's Black Ops Cold War is the same as Black Ops 1 but backwards.
game,
True
you
story.
create a character dossier with perks, a name, an organization, the whole shebang. And at first, it just assumed it's there for, you know, some dialogue options and some gameplay tweaks. But then the big reveal happens at the end. You, Bell, were one of the soldiers turned on at the beginning of the game in the car, and through MK Ultra were ultimately brainwashed by Adler and the CIA. That file that you make at the beginning, that's your brand new life they fabricated for you. You have created your new brainwashing as a character creation system. This
Which is awesome.
all comes to a head when you get to the best mission at the end of the game that combines the usual
So it's very
Black
clear
Ops
that this guy likes the mind-bending missions, which I'm on board with that, but not everyone is.
flair with a little Stanley Parable as Adler's trying to pry memories from you. Even your name, Bell, was in reference to the mind control technique they used to get you under their spell. And of course, the code phrase,
You see how Bell, and they name it Bell after the thing, just like Case is named after the thing he does, the Case one. Still think Bell's Case.
Hell, even after this, they go as far as to show you it in the theme song. Bell's theme combines synth in the beginning, but transitions into Russian lyrics, which is accurate because you are a Russian combatant.
The twist is better in that game, for sure. This song's a banger. I use it in my videos all the time.
And much like Black Ops 1, its final mission is pretty dull, but it does succeed at doing what it set out to do. To Bell, Adler is an enemy combatant who found your barely alive body, brainwashed you, lured you into being his friend and comrade, only to finally go through your brain with pliers and needles when he wasn't getting answers fast enough. If you choose to help him regardless,
I'm curious where he's going with this one though.
Nuking Europe, he rewards you for your loyalty in the most Adler way he possibly could.
I just want you to know that this little thing that's happened with you and me, it was always for the greater good. You're a goddamn hero, you know that, kid. Heroes have to make sacrifices. That's why when I ask you for one more, I hope you understand. It was never personal.
Bang.
I say all of this because what truly saddens me about how they ended Black Ops 6 is that none of it does what it's supposed to do. Harrow is not a good villain for this story because she's not around. She's barely in the damn game. And while her Game of the Year winning performance is a huge
Perseus was not around at all during Cold War, so bad example.
huge helper, unironically, like her VA slaps.
So it's great to see you.
She just isn't the character to do this for. Case is the character to do this for. Case was a damn experiment. He was Case 1. He was number 1, Mr. Krabs. We had a whole mission about super soldier
I do agree that he would be the better villain.
Do you want
but it is heavily implied that Case and Harrow are one from the old
to know when that's brought
same
up in the
cloth,
story
cut from
again?
the same cloth.
It isn't. The entire situation in Kentucky, the Pantheon trials, you, Case, and your treatment all means nothing as you dive through Harrow's brain. They set up Case like they were setting up Bell with all the same intrigue and questions, and then they didn't answer a single one of them. It's not interesting to dive through Harrow's memories because we don't know Harrow well enough.
And when we do that, they don't answer more questions. It brings up more questions, like Harrow's family's death.
A betrayal from inside, perhaps, that would hit so much differently. But unfortunately, it's just wasted here, despite how, like, cool the mission was. The level design, set pieces, and locations that you go to, they're all super cool, but without a narrative impact to back it up, it isn't what it could be. I somewhat agree with this. This is only compounded by the other thing that makes me lose my mind with these games lately, which is just how safe they play everything.
COD has been hit with the Fortnite-ification that is prevalent in many games as of lately. Every single story that goes on has to be connected to Warzone later on. So with that, nobody is able to ever truly die outside of the main villain, and even that isn't always true.
Well, I wasn't in that tank.
I know Woods isn't going to die because he kicks the bucket in Black Ops 2, which is why him getting stabbed gave me no reaction. But there was one character I was truly unsure about. My beloved Felix.
Yeah, he's not a multiplayer either.
Not you too. If Felix dies here, I will never forgive this game. I hope you weren't there for that, Felix. Oh, fuck, no! Holy! Oh no! No. But they didn't even have the balls to kill him off either. Nobody in this game dies. The stakes are played so insanely safe. The only thing that comes close is that Case gets a whiff of that Black Ops
they're probably
and
dead here.
strangles Harrow to death while drowning her in a helicopter. But you know what they do? You know what they fucking do? They cut the feed before either of them can be confirmed as dead.
You don't see them die, they're probably not dead.
Might I remind you, the golden rule, no body,
No kill!
Oh, holy crap, Lois. Jane, how did you survive? Well, Peter, me and Case were never in that helicopter. Jane was the one who had the Pantheon project, and since you got a whiff of that gas that makes you go loopy and the powder that makes you say real, they could pull unreliable narrator immediately and have both parties survive for a future game. At least in Cold War, people actually died. Lazar
I think Case is dead. Or sorry, Hero's dead, but Case
and
probably
Park had a
isn't.
genuine little interaction before you had to choose to save only one. But even that doesn't matter because Park is in Black Ops 6, so your choice doesn't mean dick. But Bell got iced in the end too. Like, there was a feeling of mortality for these characters. This all is not to mention what a waste of a character Adler is in this game. Adler is genuinely cemented in with some of the greats in Call of Duty. The dude's demeanor is great. His look is amazing. His drip, immaculate. And he has all these great interactions, like when you ask him about his scar in Cold War and he gives you 3 completely bullshit answers. But the dude is sketchy as shit. He brainwashes people. He's a CIA hitman and soldier, and literally he killed your ass in the last game. He has all the makings of being an incredible villain for the series, a full stop antagonist. I don't
think they'll ever do that though. They want him to be like the person that like sits on the edge of that fence.
Spinning up ideas where you play as a bunch of ex-brainwashed people like Mason, but you're on the run from the CIA with your comrades, and Adler is tasked to hunt you down. Your ex-torturer, now your current hitman. Not some world-ending plot, not nuking Europe, no false flags, just Adler cleaning up the messes he left behind. And unfortunately, he's got a mop with 9mm in it. But they won't do that because everyone has to be in Warzone now. Everyone survives because of Warzone. The campaign mechanics are there for Warzone. They tease a character hacking into Livingston's laptop that we have never seen before, and that character is in Warzone. The entire ending of the game has everyone there still alive and living.
Man, that's a really good point. If that is Jackson Kane indeed, and the whole point is just having him to be in Warzone
and being like, oh, okay, I guess you can keep doing all the crap you're doing and look for Pantheon. Pantheon isn't even gone. The organization isn't even disbanded.
Honestly, what they should have done, what they should do with Warzone is they should do what they did with Blackout, where that was a whole, you could have whatever characters you want in that, because essentially they could make whatever characters they want. Like that was the backstory behind it. Or do the whole DNI, direct neural interface thing from Black Ops 3. And then you can have any characters do anything and it's not against canon. That's what needs to happen.
Dead. We just assume that Jane and Case are both dead, but we don't know.
I need to make a video about
nobody. Hell, even in Cold War, they didn't even find Perseus or kill Perseus. They may have done this in Warzone. I don't know. I don't do that shit. But it's all done later, and it makes it such a waste.
What truly upsets me here is that they were doing it this time. The missions were varied, the characters were intriguing, and they were putting something together that could have been truly gas. It does still have one of the best missions that COD has had in a long while with Emergence, but
it's like
what it
this
doesn't
mission
have
and
is the ability
to
stick the landing. Never before have I wanted Raven and Treyarch to just get out, leave the confines of Call of Duty, and use their genuine creativity and character talents on something that will actually be worth it, damn it. I feel doubly bad saying this because, I mean, I don't know exactly where their dev team is, but like, I live in SoCal. I'm very close to Blizzard Studios. I run into game devs when I play Warhammer all the time. But the devil you know, and it's foolish of me to just say, I hope you can all leave and get millions of dollars of funding for a brand new game studio. So I'm putting all of my chips into hoping, praying that someone over there wakes the fuck up and lets them cook. But until then, it's a 2 out of 4 bricks. My new little 4 brick rating scale.
I think you give this, if he's doing it out of 4 bricks, I'll give it a 3 out of 4 bricks.
2 out of 4. That means the negatives outweigh the positives, despite there being some genuine positives there. It kicks the fuck out of MW3's campaign before it, and it holds its own with many before that, but its wasted potential really really hurts. So
I did the
let's
same
just
thing as
hope
that.
the zombies is good enough to sustain it. Spoiler, it's decent, but it's also very Warzone-ified, so I'm in two minds about it. Ugh, another year, another Call of Duty. It's so funny, right? Because like the last year was so bad that it was just kind of funny to laugh about it and be like, ha, V for Makarov. But now that we're here and this one is like so much better than all the others, I'm like more passionate and then therefore more angry because I'm just, you were right there, you know? It's like you had a friend who would constantly.
And I think they did, like, what he's saying is they left questions there to be answered in Warzone, and I didn't think that's a good way of dealing with
or
it.
something, and like you're just used to it, and then he finally just puts on the turbo skates and ends up getting to the last mile and then just falls over and dies, and you're like, no, you were there. Anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. I'll see you in my next year video for COD in the long-running series known as, oh my god, please let this one be it. Toodles.
So I agree with a lot of what he says. What I don't agree with is, I think this isn't a top 5, is a top 5 Call of Duty campaign. I think it's like Black Ops 1, COD 4 and COD original Modern Warfare 2 are up there. Modern Warfare 2019's up there. And then I think Cold War and Black Ops 6 fight for that 5th spot. That's like kind of where I see this game landing. And if they answered more questions, and probably if they had a better antagonist, I think that was one thing that he got very correct there. I think probably Case should have turned into the bad guy. That's kind of what I was expecting the whole time. But they didn't. Well, they kind of did. But again, they left more questions. So yeah, I think it's a great campaign. I think the gameplay is amazing. I think there's a wide variety of gameplay, but I do think it does fall short on that storytelling just a little bit. But let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you made it this far, thanks for chilling with me.